Hello, everybody. The World Series starts today, so I got to be honest. For however long this World Series lasts, I'm not sure what I'm going to be updating on the website and when. So just roll with it. Know that whenever you wake up in the morning, everything will be ready for you before the opening bell, hours and hours and hours before the opening bell. Thanks for Maui having such a time zone difference from New York that whenever I first initially moved here is because my end of day methodology was so amazing and seemed to work forever since my back testing went back forever that I never thought I'd have to day trade for a living again. Clearly the huge money is made in day trading now as I completely continue to see my biggest percent winners be day trades instead of end of day holdings, and who knows how much longer my life on Maui will last at that rate. However, as it is, Mets and Royals World Series, so for the next week, depending if it's 4 games or 7 games, we'll see what happens. But this market overall, it's so weird, 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 weird. So what this market looks like to me when I look at individual stocks is it's a complete carbon copy of the year 2000. In the very beginning of the year 2000, NASDAQ 100 stocks rallied, led. Dow Jones, S&P 500 stocks sucked wind. But the Russell 2000 was able to keep up. This time around, even the SP 500 stocks are okay, but if it's not in big cap technology, I tell you what, or just super big cap with a NASDAQ 4-letter symbol, we just have problems. We just have problems, problems, problems. So the NASDAQ 100, as you can see, looks fine. It was up 0.18% today. Volume was heavier than the day before, and overall, we're holding that gap up quite well, including on the NASDAQ. But at the other indexes, today was a technical distribution day, down 0.26 on the SP 500 with an uptick in volume. Pullback is overall pretty tame. Not much of a scare within the pullback overall, so nothing to worry about here. But like I said, the leadership is just so questionable. Dow Jones Industrial Average holding up, but the most important part is look at that Russell 2000, down 1.23% today. I would love to see the Russell 2000, the NASDAQ, and NASDAQ 100 all kind of moving in sync. SP 500, Dow Jones especially. Everything moving at the same time is what you want to prefer. You want it to be as broad base as possible. But whenever I only have like NASDAQ-related stocks doing well, huge, huge red flags. And since we've had this rally off the lows in late September in the market overall, the September lows, the long positions, they've been half-assed long positions, and by half-assed I mean half-assed quality. Nothing just oh my god, what a beautiful chart. Not a single chart I've looked at and was like, holy shit, that looks like this one's going to be a huge winner based on past patterns, or a pre-2008 looking kind of setup going back to 1998. And I started trading in 96, but I saw these same patterns. I just wasn't trading them, wasn't buying new highs yet. But I've just seen these patterns over and over, and these patterns just continue to not exist. They don't show up, and when they do, and like a speculative stocks like MMAC, they don't work. So back in the day, if a pattern like this shows up, you can be sure that we've got some large gains coming. I mean, I'd say that we're going to double from here in a short period of time, but instead we just continue to go nowhere. And that's the case again with tonight. Not a whole lot of long quality positions, and then we got some sells. EURN 100% sell on an end-of-day basis, so EURN is a failure, not a big deal. PDCE closing below the 20-day moving average on a higher volume, not above average, but clearly it's not going in the right direction. That's a 50% sell on an end-of-day basis. Coke is closing below its 20-day moving average on heavy volume, so that's a 50% sell area on Coke. DGII closing below the 20-day moving average for a second day in a row, heavier volume than the previous day, and closing below the most recent support levels right back here at the start of October. So that is also a 50% sell. And then CHFN, hard close below the 20-day moving average, and even though volume's below average, in this kind of market, if it's not moving higher immediately, I want to start cutting. I mean, lower volume, we're under a buy signal across the board, and I've got long positions just chugging along out of the gate with some quick 10, 20% moves in a couple weeks, then we're fine. But CHFN not moving higher immediately, 50% sell with that move below the 20-day moving average. So some sells triggering, and I mean, there's a lot of problems after hours. Twitter is blowing through my sell stop. My sell stop is back here at 28.38. I believe it's around 27.50 after hours. So once again, another stock that just isn't working like it should be working. and we just don't have the kind of quality patterns that you expect to see. EPAM, I could set a buy stop above the most recent highs, but technically the technicals are deteriorating, even though the volume pattern's good. So once again, this is what you used to see in strong markets is as a pattern would move along sideways in a base like that, balance of power here would go in the opposite direction and volume would just completely fall off a cliff and it would just be totally coiled for a new high. But with patterns like this, it's pretty hard to fall in love with anything. And then remember AGRO with its big 9% plus move yesterday? It almost completely back and filled it, hitting my limit at 942 that I'm going to go ahead and set. Didn't set it today, but you can see only came 2 cents away. So at one point, whenever I saw the chart, I was like, oh, shit. I missed my perfect dip buying opportunity, but it didn't quite hit it. So with the way that it reversed intraday today, I'll go ahead and put on a limit at 942, and if it hits, it hits. But I don't know. If this one fails, I won't be surprised either. And that's why I'm going to go back to the same thing that I keep saying. I just happen to think that overall it's still cash is king kind of market. I didn't look when it went. Oh, it's the numbers. Sorry, I was confused. I was looking at it in my personal trading diary in front of my face. But anyway, where was I even going with that? Oh, well, I'm not sure exactly what my cash balance is, but I'm almost 100% sure it's got to be 50 to 55%. After today's sells, it could easily be in between 55-60%. I'm not sure. But cash is absolutely still king here. Just the chart patterns are they're just a joke. I cannot lie. It's a joke. Even day trading opportunities, there's very few intraday. DNRG had a big move, alerted in the chat room at 0.9 cents. It closed at 12 cents, actually 0.125 cents, so huge move there. Then there was a XGTI reversal, then UQM, which was considered a potential long position. Once it gapped up in the morning, huge reversal today. Intraday, a lot of people I saw day trading in the day trading chat rooms did well. So, if it's not intraday, if you're not playing the small cap stocks, there were some people intraday that were on RAD. I don't know how you make money on this market on an end-of-day basis because PFGC, nice setup, for an IPO. Too bad I think earnings are tomorrow, so much for that. FPRX, okay, that's a good start, but look how far away the 50 and 200-day moving averages is. No way that base is long enough to buy there, so you got to pass on that one. DDC off the lows, that's nice, but you know what I want to see to be able to buy something like that? No tall red bars in the volume area off these lows, and there were some here, and there was just one just the day before today's pocket pivot point signal, and I would have seen BOP. I would have want to have seen BOP shoot up to the max green BOP level. So we just don't have the patterns we're looking at. Tree, that potential long 2 days ago, it's gapped up and it's still forming a base, so it could be a long. But, perfect speculator scan stocks aren't even doing that well. DY, for you guys on an end-of-day basis, if that's how you follow my sells and long recommendations, it's not a sell. But intraday today, DY hit half my sell stop. A move below 73.05, half my sell stop was hit. Boom, went down to 72.46. By the end of the day, it's reversed, so it's fine. I still have half my position left. But once again, man, after I get signals, good signals and high quality names in strong markets, they immediately work. They don't pull back. So cash is still king here. I have no problem pussyfooting around with new long positions because if I don't take the signal and it works, I'm always going to kick myself in the ass. If I take the signal and cut my loss, it never bothers me because my losses are so tiny to my total account capital, and the amount of capital I'm putting at work per long position is just minuscule. And that leads us to tonight's long position. The best one, MLAB. CanSlim quality long position. I think, though, that this stock only averages about, is that right? Averages less than 10,000 shares a day. How can you even load up on this one? You really can't. You could still do 2% for it being a CanSlim long position, but earnings, I believe, are on the third. 1%er for me, it's too low volume. I wouldn't want to really do more than 1%. Is still a healthy amount, and it's a high price stock, so chances are it's probably not going to do bad. And you can see the history of this stock is there are no gap downs because it's a very, very high quality stock. That's why it's a $100 per share stock. It's just thin. So MLAB 1%, earnings are on the third. First cut loss, I'm not sure yet. Maybe here, 105.03. Final cut loss deep at 100. Since I'm using only 1% of my account capital, I want to really know it fails before I lose. And then TGS, speculative stock. I have no idea when earnings are. I've tried to research this. Don't know if it was today, tomorrow, or next week. But 0.5% of my account capital in this speculative position. Previous pocket pivot point signal. Nice looking chart.